Today I am going to tell you the creepiest stories that I found at this museum and the creepiest experiences that happened to me there.
Cynthia, she's a demonically possessed doll that likes to make strange demands.
I felt so much spiritual energy there, like sadness. It's just like a thick. It's like a feeling of death. He was actually freaking out. I think he was gonna have a panic attack. And there was like a feces stain from one of his victims still there. Hey guys, it's Kara. Welcome back to my channel. If you watched my channel last Sunday, I posted a video from my vacation in Vanf. We stayed at the Fairmont Vanf Springs, which I didn't know until I got there that the place was haunted. There's apparently a murder up there. We're gonna see if we can find the 8th whatever room, but it doesn't exist. We're gonna go anyways. These are really cool elevators. They're old school. We discovered the ghost stories of this 130-year-old plus hotel. We explored. So this is where it all happened.
Careful.
It was actually super fun. I love anything scary, and that inspired me to talk about another haunted place that I visited that I really loved. So I'm a Las Vegas lover. Before the whole pandemic thing, I would go at least once a year, if not twice. One time I went there with Michael, which was pretty recent. I would say it was in 2019. I was looking for stuff to do and I found ZAK Bagan'S Haunted Museum. I never heard of this place. He's a guy who has a ghost show. He has a few shows and even one where he collects haunted possessions. He took all these haunted artifacts and made a haunted museum in Las Vegas. Not to mention all the stuff inside is haunted and creepy. The house itself is also said to be haunted. This place, you could definitely feel the eerie vibe. Some people left, they were crying. He has some of the most haunted items in the world. He has things that used to belong to famed serial killers. So the story behind the actual house, just like an unassuming, charming little house. It said that this house was built in 1938 by a banker, Cyril Wengert. And the creepy thing about it though is that there's legends that they used to hold satanic rituals down in the basement. So when you get there, you can't even go in the basement. It is locked off. There has been a ton of stories with bad things happening down there. Unfortunately, when you're in there, you can't take pictures or videos. You can only take them in the entryway, which I did while you're waiting to enter the actual tour. My memory of the place is very vivid because I was really fascinated with it. Today, I am going to tell you the creepiest stories that I found at this museum and the creepiest experiences that happened to me there. So when we first walked in, one of the first rooms that I remember is this puppet theater. It was full of dolls and creepy puppets. In this room, they picked me as one of the people to go stand up, and I got spooked by some of the employees there. One very creepy doll, which was later in the tour, that actually scared me and is one of the creepiest things that happened there is the doll Peggy. Peggy is a walking doll. You might have heard of her, seen pictures of her on the internet because apparently it's a well-known story. A lot of these things you can volunteer to see them or not see them. They don't force you because some people have bad reactions. You walk in this room to see the doll and she's kind of behind a wall. It was scary because I already have a fear of walking dolls. There used to be a creepy one at my grandma's house when I was growing up. I would play with it sometimes, but other times I felt like it was staring at me, so I would run by it. Finally, later on, I got her to sell it at a yard sale. And I always had a reoccurring dream when I was a kid about a walking doll like Peggy coming to life. It looked exactly like this, chasing me like it was a murderous doll. Anyways, the story behind Peggy, she's said to be haunted or possessed by a spirit from the Holocaust. So there was a British paranormal investigator named Jane Harris, and she actually reported on a lot of stuff about this Peggy the Doll before ZAK Bagan'S got him in the museum. Over 80 cases of people, apparently, or more, that even just looked at pictures or videos of the doll that got nausea, headaches, chest pain, and all of this. Never mind people who had the doll in their possession said it was even worse because she's a tormented spirit. They would have her appearing in their dreams and they would also feel sick. But basically when I went in there, I guess it just really scared me because of the energy in that room. They have a voice box thing attached to her. Some people say they can hear her talk or send messages with this walkie-talkie device. There are videos even with visitors being overcome by evil spirits, some of which entered the Peggy room. It was just very creepy energy. But that's because dolls are creepy to me. Those kind of dolls anyways, and porcelain dolls. Each of the rooms are themed, but closer to the end of the tour, there's one that has a Dybbuk Box. I don't know how to pronounce that, Debug Box. Anyways, this was the only thing that I refused to look at. I heard that the Debug Box can actually curse you for years and years, and I am not a fan of the whole bad luck thing. But I saw it from far away. It was locked up. So the Debug Box is apparently from Europe, and it's been traveling for years and years. It is said to be the most haunted item in the world. It's from a Jewish myth. That's why it's called the Dybbuk Box. Apparently that's the spirit that's infested this wine box. Say that if you touch it, you're just gonna have bad luck, or if you're in contact with it. This actually happened to the rapper Post Malone at the museum. Because he's a celebrity, he was allowed to touch the box and just experience it, and I guess he wasn't scared because, you know, celebrities can't be touched by evil spirits. After that, he actually had a string of bad luck. I think he was supposed to take off on a plane and the wheels blew right before takeoff. And then armed robbers broke into a house he used to live at. Thank goodness he wasn't home. It was all after he touched that box. So next up, one of Michael and I's most creepy experiences. I can honestly say we had a strange experience. I don't know if you guys know about Dr. Kevorkian, ZAK Kevorkian. He was a doctor back in the day. He advocated for euthanasia. He wanted it to be an option for patients who wanted to pass away, who were terminally ill. He thought that he was helping them. All of these people, it was voluntary. Either way, he helped with the assisted suicide for I think 130 patients. He was convicted of murder back in 1999 finally, and a lot of people called him Dr. Death. At ZAK's museum, they had the actual van where he used to commit these euthanasias. Is that what you call it? Euthanasias? These assisted suicides. So it was in a room. It was another one of those things where they ask you if you're sure you want to see it, because a lot of people go in there and they actually do faint. I believe it was in this room or the room before, someone started to cry and they actually had to leave. So apparently this van was actually in the landfill. They had to blow it up again. You know, like put it together. It was probably squashed and thrown out, but they've set it up. And just the smell in this room, you walk in, it's open, they set it up, they had candles for the patients that died. And they tell the history on some panels on the side. It's not even so scary when you look at the van itself. There was an air of death. I've been to Auschwitz in Poland. I felt so much spiritual energy there, like sadness. It's just like a heavy, a thick, it's like a feeling of death. This room had that same exact feeling. Those are the only 2 times I've ever felt that. I was okay. And Michael doesn't really get affected by stuff. I've never seen this happen to him. He got sick. Like, he didn't throw up, but he got faint. And I mean, Michael doesn't get faint. He was actually freaking out. I think he was gonna have a panic attack. And nothing was said, nothing happened, nothing looked scary in there. It was just the actual energy was so heavy. And now I know why people passed out or had actual panic attacks in that room. There's something about it. That was some realness. The last thing I want to talk about, it wasn't a super creepy experience. It was kind of cool, but it was very disturbing at the same time. I love serial killer stories. I've never been so close to actual items that murderers used to own or stuff from the crime scenes. He has apparently paintings of Charles Manson, some of his ashes, his glasses, stuff from Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Oh, for Charles Manson, he had stuff like his dentures as well. The thing that stood out the most to me was about a serial killer that I actually didn't know about, Robert Bordello. He was also known as the Kansas City Butcher or the Collector, I believe. He raped, murdered, tortured at least 6 men in the 80s. Before he would even murder these guys, he would keep them for at least 6 weeks in captivity and torture them the whole time. So it was a really depressing story, so disgusted by it. He described his murders as being some of his darkest fantasies coming to life. Dark they are. So Robert Bordello was known as the Kansas City Butcher because of how he extensively dissected the victims' bodies and he disposed them in garbage bags. It was just gross. The room in its own is just shocking and horrifying. Even me, who can handle these stories. It was just really like hurt your heart. In this one section of the room where they had the Robert Bordello stuff, they had the original video of the only interview that Robert Bordello ever had with the media. Also had photos of the 6 victims that Bordello took himself. One account online that someone who visited this museum, they said that they were blown up on the wall like artwork, but I really don't remember that. Maybe I averted my eyes a little bit because some of the photos of the victims showed them were in their captivity. Among those original pictures, one thing that really stood out to me and creeped me out was there was the actual bed from Bordello's house or lair, wherever he kept his victims. And this was the bed that he chained them to for weeks on end. This is really gross, but they have the sheets, the original sheets on the bed. And there was like a feces stain from one of his victims still there. And I remember seeing this very vividly and it was very like, ew. You find out very quickly because they tell you, if you're not familiar with the Kansas City butcher, that he also raped these men. There was also a rod propped up beside the bed that he actually used to sodomize his victims. So like I said, if you're faint of heart or this stuff really disturbs you, then that room would not be a good fit. If you're curious, he did end up pleading guilty and was sentenced to like life in prison. He had a heart attack in jail. Okay, so I think I'm done talking about ZAK Bagan'S Haunted Museum in Vegas. If you ever get a chance, visit it if you're into this stuff, because it is one of the creepiest and coolest museums. It is the creepiest and coolest museum that I've ever been to. All right, guys, let me know which story you thought was the creepiest or any other haunted places I should visit next or talk about on my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next Sunday in a brand new video. Bye. Okay.